Miles. Welcome to Cosmic Ruh Podcast. My name is Aida Farhat. I will be your host today with my regular super amazing guests, Brian Tseng, Miles Johnston, and Dr. Amir Jahangiri. Yes. Welcome, all of you guys. I'm super excited about the show. So there's a lot to discuss today. And I did my due diligence and pulled up some things about the drones in New Jersey, of course, all over the planet. The young man, 50 years old, the CEO of, my mind's going blank, Brian. CEO
United Health. Yep.
So I've heard some things. I've did a little research myself, but I thought these would be topics that people would be interested in, and I'm sure that Dr. Amir will be able to give us, shed some light onto some of the things that are taking place, especially with the drones, because so many people, it's a hot topic. Everybody's talking about it. How are you today, Miles? I see that face.
I'm chilling.
That's what we call a holiday resting Miles face.
Yes.
God help us all.
We're doing great.
So,
I've just been told by Kerry Cassidy that Wright-Patterson's closed.
Say that
and
again.
We had loads of airports here closed.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Oh.
Wow. And as we know from Dr. Michael Sala's research, among others, and probably yours as well, Miles, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base occupies a very hallowed place in ufology and lore, because many of the early ET crash UFOs that were retrieved were brought there to Wright-Patterson.
Bullshit alert.
Bullshit okay, alert. Please tell us, share, Miles. If you got the
there's nothing like a TR-3B or D or something with navigation lights. And if they were a goddamn threat to this country, they'd be goddamn shot down. Is that?
Well, so this is interesting, because when we discuss TR-3Bs, that's alluding more, from what I know, the secret space programs, the Ad Astra project, that's reverse engineered from a lot of these the downed craft, and then those comprise a lot of the Solar Warden and perhaps Radiant Guardian fleets right now.
Well, I disagree with that, because one of the things that I've been digging up, I couldn't believe one of the presentations we had at the weekend by Martin Coleman. He was only ever be able to reveal that he was actually involved with the Searle British saucer group, and having just done the edit and seen it, I don't remember what it is, but basically in the early 50s, there was a whole lot of scientists and industrialists who decided that they'd been exposed. They'd seen the German stuff, the German saucers, identical to those early ones at Kehoe and all that. German asset, pre-CIA asset, wrote the book on Flying Saucers Are Real, and was the model for the film with Gort, the robot, and all that. Exactly the same flyover of UFO stuff that was going on in the early 50s. It's exactly the same with what's going on now. You've got stuff flying around. The way the media is reporting it, it's exactly the same book. Page, the same book, just 1951 or 2 or whatever. And when you see that, they're covering up. They're not in control, I think, this time. And they're going to get their ass kicked.
Well, Courtney Brown has a lot to say about that, but real
quick. Yes, and
I
I think it's remarkable how the Farsight Institute remarkably predicted this situation. But that's only me.
I just did a show with them. Arkim and I just did a show with Courtney Dr. Brown and Nathan Cizik, and Dr. Brown said we were the first other podcast other than the Farsight Institute to report on the messaging and that the Farsight Institute had been told ahead of time, and Cliff High apparently is being given all the credit, and I think he deserves some credit, but not all the credit by any means.
Yeah.
Well, I think the main thing about Cliff High is he thinks deeply. He looks at patterns. He's very good at predicting what is going on with regard to patterns on different levels. And he's not a UFO nutter. He's actually a thinking man, with all due respect. So I think when you put 1 and 1 together, and maybe Dr. Amir, you might be able to put 1 and 1 and get 2 or 3.5.
Well, he does have doctor in his name, so I hope so.
Well,
Cliff High is absolutely genius. I mean, I've listened.
Well, this is the point. Deep thinkers.
Yeah.
This is by the way where things have the potential to go kind of offside. So the raw data points are there, but then making good conclusions, that's the tricky part. So evidently the gentleman is very gifted in this very critical stage of the process. So many remote viewers may get correct data points, but then putting the full picture together, that's where a lot of failure occurs. So it's good.
Keep the data, doctor. It's the data. The early data is always vital, because they then have a meeting and then they decide what the data means, and then they'll tell you what the data means and cover up the rest of it. But keep the data. And this is the important thing.
Okay, I'm going to read this just quickly, guys. This may give for some of we may have listeners that have no idea what we're talking about. So
we have no idea what we're talking about.
Well,
don't let the secret out.
Okay, so we're diving into the recent surge of mysterious drone sightings across the United States, with a particular focus on New Jersey. Over the past few weeks, residents have reported dozens of nighttime drone flights near sensitive locations, such as Picatinny Arsenal. Mind you, I used to live there with my first husband, and I could tell y'all some stuff about that. But anyways, Picatinny Arsenal and the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster. These drones, significantly larger than standard hobbyist models, follow structured flight paths, raising concerns among officials and the public alike. Authorities, including Governor Phil Murphy, assure there is no immediate threat to public safety, but the FBI and the FAA are actively investigating the matter. Citizens have been encouraged to report any sightings or evidence as investigators seek to uncover the operators and their intentions. Interestingly, these sightings are limited to New Jersey. Similar incidents have been reported near military facilities in the UK, other strategic locations. In response, the U.S. Department of Defense has unveiled classified strategy to address the growing risk posed by unmanned aerial systems, signaling rising concerns over potential espionage or malicious activities. Yet the mystery deepens as officials remain uncertain about who or what is behind these drones. The lack of clear answers has fueled public frustration, compounded by occasional misidentifications of small aircraft as drones. Are these sightings indicative of a broader phenomenon, or is something else at play? And we will analyze the implications and dive into it. And I'd love to hear everybody's perspective and what you think, what information you're getting and how that's relevant to the bigger picture of what's really going on. I mean, and I agree with you, Dr. Amir, about what you said. Absolutely. We can get specifics with these people that are amazing at what they do. For instance, Courtney Brown. I mean, I love him. I think he's absolutely on point and very humble but direct about his gifts and abilities, and he has contact with what he calls the good ETs. So the good ETs versus the bad ETs. And we know that, the Dracos, and I wouldn't suggest all Dracos, but most Draco reptilians are service to self and I still want domination domination, and control. Wow, Miles. That's pretty interesting. I mean, that's a fascinating Okay, so what is that, Miles?
John Wolfson, using a Ukrainian brackets Russian full spectrum daylight scope, these are invisible during the day. I'm getting the reflection of the stupid light.
No, you're doing a great. I mean, I think most of us can see it. Those that are watching.
This is invisible to the human eye, and these are flying all over the place over British bases. But his camera's picking it up, and there is a heat source on this, where the red is, and other things. These are buzzing around in pairs and all over the place, and this is strikingly. He like the seeing sphere.
That's a heck of a shot. Yeah.
The show makes me want to put on my dive sign and goggles.
He likened this. He likened this to the training sphere used by Luke Skywalker in Star Wars 1977. A little sphere that could move around. And it's strikingly like somebody called Buck Rogers would fly around in. Okay. The 1930s. What's his name? Buster Crabbe. Now these are invisible. So I mean, he's done multiple. This. I mean, he's getting all these all the time. Broad daylight. Can't see them.
So I have information.
What were they doing? This is about 6 months ago.
I have information to share from the Farsight Institute and also people like Audrey Walters, and then a couple other sources that aren't yet public. And so,
I'm all ears. What did they say? I'm going to be quiet now.
So for the Farsight Institute, they were told about this in advance because what they're told is that all these crises right now, the war in Ukraine and the stuff with Israel and Syria and the biological crisis of everyone getting sick all of a sudden, they're saying that the good ETs intentionally want these plans of the bad ETs, which were supposed to be strung out over a series of years and decades to kind of corral us into the transhumanism, new world order direction that they wanted it to go. The good ETs are causing the situation somehow to accelerate, to force the hand of the bad ETs to bring out all these crises at once in an accelerated manner. And then the next part of their strategy is for the good ETs to appear in our skies in as non-threatening a manner as possible for days and weeks and months, literally doing nothing, but just hovering there to acclimate the human population to their presence. Now, the other side, they do not like this. They do not want, first, a lot of the people in the conspiracy circles or the realists know about Project Bluebeam. Okay. And the thing is that this flies in the face of Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is supposed to be one of shock and awe. Oh my gosh, UFOs appear out of nowhere, combined with real craft. They start blowing stuff up, and now they're telling us all to report to our local Walmarts. Okay, this is not that. So in response, the deep state Illuminati cabal elements, whether they're based in the U.S. military rogue groups, they're using some of their advanced drone technology now to go out in public as well, to make appearances places like New Jersey, where, what do you know, these UFOs and craft are all over the world right now. But the U.S. media, especially in the lamestream media, they're all focused on New Jersey. Okay, so fine. The deep state floats some of their craft, which they're advanced, but not compared to the higher UFO tech. So for human level tech, these are very advanced drones. And some of these drones are even spraying people and livestock and animals with stuff, which is very concerning. And Liz Cross, the psychic, or I forget her exact name on YouTube, she did a great episode about this, about those particular drones. And those are, in my understanding, unfriendly. However, there are a lot more friendlies out there in the skies, and their purpose is to awaken humanity to the ET reality. And so this is a chess game, and you're getting mixed messages, and it's because there's so many different groupings in the skies. In the past, the positive ETs weren't able to just come in and fly and just hover there for long amounts of time. In the past, the Galactic Federation didn't want advanced craft coming here that could get shot down, and now the secret space programs are poaching ET technology. That's actually that's not good, and they don't want that. Then they can actually ban ET races from coming here to Earth space for violating the Prime Directive. Okay. Also, the craft that we've seen all this time, where you need the 120 frames per second, high-speed cameras and infrared, like the Farsight Institute was told to do by their ET contacts, many of them, those are secret space program and negative ET affiliated. And for now, our secret space programs are not friendly to humanity. They're still going with a cabal service to self agenda, is my understanding. What Dr. Brown and the Farsight Institute have been told by their contacts is that for the most part, the Draco Reptilian Orion Empire, it's crumbling, it's falling apart. Here within this sector of space, our solar system, the Galactic Federation apparently is militarily dominant. However, having said that, the Galactic Federation, being staunch, hardcore, free will, Prime Directive adherents, do not want to interfere too much with Earth beyond what they're doing, showing up in their skies, because they don't want to force the issue too much before their humanity is ready. For instance, if humanity and our programs shoot on their craft, they will not fire back, because they know that could instigate, our U.S. media in particular saying, oh my gosh, they're shooting at us, it's an invasion. And that they do not want to do that. So it's a stalemate right now. But the longer the stalemate goes, the more in favor it is for the humanity and the positive forces, in my opinion.
Thank you for that, Brian. Anybody want to
I did
respond to that? Because that,
yeah. There's I did a remote viewing session yesterday on 3 underground facilities, blind targeting by code. One of them in the northern part of Antarctica. This is a Draco base, very, very advanced facility. Traditionally, they were using the quarantine of Earth as additional boundaries or layers of security. They also have their own enemies, of course. It seems like they have come to the acceptance that the gig is up. So again, corresponding with what Brian just mentioned, yes, they are keenly aware of this. There's a large number that wish to defect, come back to balance and continue evolving. And then there's that small, let's say 15% of zealots that have this motto of quote unquote honor, death before dishonor, rah, rah, rah. They are intensely working on synthetic evolution because they have, through acts of degeneration and violation of free will, they have severed their connection to source. That automatically limits how far they can evolve. So their main focus right now, and this is now the top scientific tier of their race, is trying to synthesize codes of the beloved source to artificially ascend, and it is not working. So they are keenly aware that they're not going to be here for very much longer. And so a lot of what we see through, let's say, lower tiers of the hierarchical structure is purely an act of chaos and desperation, as bigger players are one by one being eliminated. Now there's, they are not that unified front that appears initially. There's lots of infighting. And so as this becomes more intense, we're going to see these factions cannibalize each other. And so perhaps all the positive beings really need to do is prevent a catastrophic destruction or let's say another cycle of extinction for humanity. And that is good enough. And one of the things that was really surprising, revealed during this session, and I was completely oblivious to this, that more specifically the reptilians require a critical number of beings in order to blanket the planet. So something like 100 or 150,000 of them are needed to dim our light. As soon as they go down below a certain threshold, humanity is going to be liberated. And so we're
Perhaps perhaps it's like an evil. Is that? Sorry, Amir, Dr. Amir. It almost sounds like an evil version of the 144,000, but like the Antichrist version.
That was a pretty good. Yeah, Brian.
It's happening. It's happening now. As the mighty humans, we do not require somebody to hold our hand or save us or rescue. No. We just want fairness. We want to be left to our own devices to fix our own problems. And that is happening. So a lot of what's going on is just chaos in this previously unchallenged empire that had full control over Earth, so well ingrained into every aspect and echelon of human life. Now that is going away. They're panicking.
Thank you for that, Dr. Amir. Miles, do you have a comment?
What's going to happen is, and I shouldn't be saying this, but I just have a very strong feeling about this, that those who think they can get away with it, they're going to be deleted back to wherever they come from. This is going to be a time reversed, dimensionally reversed, blow wherever you started out from situation. And it's not us that's going to be blown into oblivion. It's going to be them. Wherever they are, in whatever domain. That's my view.
Thank you.
And it's an automatic self-destruct that has been initiated by the planet.
So can I say something, Dr. Amir? Maybe you can speak to this, or anybody is welcome. But I know that the Lyran, the Lyran wars with the Orions, the Dracos demolished, which we know that that's where humanity started out in Lyra. And it's my understanding that those wars, the Pleiadian and Draco war, they've been chasing the Pleiadians around and Lyrans, we'll say, for millennia, because they want the DNA of the Pleiadians and the Lyrans. I'm not saying because we hold the highest human DNA on the planet.
And we taste yummy.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that, or at least this is my thoughts, and maybe, I'm open to correction if needed, but the Pleiadian and reptilian war that's been going on for hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions, has been brought to the planet. I mean, I can tell you that I see reptilians still very often where I live at. They're all over Florida, by the way, and specifically in certain pockets of Florida. It just seems to be like a nesting place for them. I don't know if that's the right word, but what are your thoughts about this? Because I know even Simon Parks, I will speak to him. He had mentioned that it's the Pleiadians that are going to have a huge effect on humanity in the transitioning of the what we're going through, this spiritual development and growth and expanding. And I am a firm believer that it's not happening out there. It's happening within us, that the levels of consciousness that we are operating from is what we're able to experience and to see and perceive. So what are your thoughts to that, Dr. Amir?
I think you said it beautifully. So first of all, they're not 6 feet reptilians walking around the place. These are soul codes. Within a human vessel, we have these properties, or let's say we have a presence in different aspects in such and such beings and races. A lot of what happens with the very positive ones. So again, let's define positive. Those who strive towards balance. Too much light and too much darkness are equally harmful. So those that are here for the purpose of sacred balance, beautiful races that are serving the highest good of all, they have been severely suppressed. In terms of energetic healing, what you will observe is severe damage to the upper chakras. The connection between the physical and non-physical, which is the soul bridge, between crown and soul star usually is severely damaged. There are mechanisms placed over the crown, lots of heart injury. So they've been pushed into incarnations where their heart has been broken over and over, right? They're demoralized. And so once this is removed, they come back to full strength. Within a human vessel, they embody this brilliance that is their soul. Now, these are awakening in great numbers. With the healing of the planet, see, this is monumentally important. Without Earth being damaged, we would not have been suppressed, and vice versa. So most likely the injury to Earth happened during one of the extinction events where humanity was not there to fulfill its role of custodianship. And then damage was done to strategic points, and then just the damage became worse and worse. Once the Earth comes back to full health, as a incredibly evolved soul, which is Gaia, she has her own natural defenses. And so that will absolutely repel most of these parasitic beings. And also, when the Earth is at full strength, when every human hits puberty, we will upload our soul codes, granted that our energetic structure is also healthy. Now, this is what we have to look forward to. Generation by generation, the new children are coming in with more of the gifts of their infinite soul. This is how this is going to turn. So it's not going to be vessels coming in shooting lasers at each other. No, there is a strong spiritual component to this. So, and again, please allow me to emphasize this. Just because a certain being comes from Lyra doesn't make them good, or from the Pleiades. Or just because a certain being is Draco-Reptilian, it doesn't mean they are negative or evil. We have to look at each individual based on the merit of what they do, and then make a judgment.
Let me give you an example.
I just realized that I hit the wrong. Guys, please forgive me, and I will correct.
The show notes. It says this wrong title. That's okay for now.
I'll correct it later.
I mean, for example, there's a positively oriented Draco-Reptilian queen who's in touch with a lot of the people involved with the secret space programs here on Earth, who have soul lineage ties to the Draco. And this one particular queen wants to liberate her empire, where the remaining bits of the empire, whatever, the Draco race, from the black goo influence. And this is really a big deal. I
have met the young lady of which you speak. I've met her.
I've got a couple now. Several people are confirming this now. Are you talking Audrey Walters?
Oh my God.
And then there's more, but there's another gal.
It seems that they are queens. So they come into feminine bodies. Psychic abilities that are abnormal.
Yourself, please. You broke
up. You're saying it's some of these the Draco-Reptilian soul origin queen lineage.
Funny, as soon as we start talking about the queen, stuff goes wonky. No problem. Yes, I have met one of these wonderful Draco queens, a young lady, and I'm not going to say where she lives. Psychic abilities that blew my socks off. Holding a pencil on the tip of her finger, the thing going bzzz, like a jet propeller. Very attractive. And so I was drawn to her. And then she stops, looks back and smiles and says, "Oh, is that how it goes?" to my embarrassment. And so, yes, it seems, and she had a massive hive ship floating in the sky, perceivable to the naked eye, if you have the eyes to see, messing with the cloud patterns. And so these are the royal bodyguard. And so what she described is that they are coming to negotiate for a transition, laying down the arms, because they were also compelled to begin with. It wasn't out of free will. And so now they are healing with the rest of us. And please allow me to say this again, they are prone to great rage and anger under the correct conditions. But oh boy, they are capable of such deep compassion. So we have to be more open-minded, I suppose. You know, like every cessation of war and peace treaty, there has to be some sort of a reconciliation. where you say, okay, bygones, bygones, let's move forward together.
Yes. I was just thinking as you were speaking, Dr. Amir, grace is a wonderful gift that we can extend to ourselves and to others.
Can I
In the same way that we want to be forgiven or we want to correct our wrongdoings towards any living sentient being, especially our human brothers and sisters, that the same way that we want that, and I surely do, that we can be open enough to consider that they're I'm sure that there are some, like what you said, the 15% or 10% you said, that are stuck in their,
Ida, can I speak to that?
Yes, Brian.
I have an example of that.
Okay.
Misha Johnston and Olivia James, who wrote Gray Mouse, and then Misha Johnston, she runs a lot of Starseed Experiencer support groups. I think it's starseedawakening.com is her website. We did a session where Olivia James is able, with the assistance of Misha especially, is kind of like a monitor and someone to help get her into the proper trance state, is able to connect with various different energies very easily and cleanly as a psychic medium. And so one of the groups we were talking to were handlers with something known as the Princeton group. And they were actually in some office in Georgia, sitting around computers and drinking coffee and probably smelling each other's farts. And these were the type of handlers who use psychotronic warfare and remote viewing and psychic abilities to target starseeds and people in the programs, to targeted individuals and to zap us and, mess with their lives and bank accounts and all that, voice to skull ex-boyfriends and girlfriends to harass, stuff like that. And this one person, his name was Dennis Pearson. And because he had an underling who Olivia first tuned into, was Jake Lawrence. And then because they're all psychically trained, these handlers, they knew, we got someone here, and so we got to speak with Dennis directly. And what Dennis says is that, yeah, he's a handler. He's messing with all of us. He considers every one of us in the disclosure movement as like we're animals that got out of our cages. We're a huge nuisance. We need to be contained and stomped down. And he thinks that their side is going to win. I'm not sure if he's like, I'm talking to an alter of this guy, or this guy really believes this. According to Olivia James, she was telepathically communicating with this person. This person really believes this, and he's all about the money. He says, do you know how big my bank account is and how powerful our side is, and your side is going to lose? And I didn't share this on the show the other night with Dr. Brown, because I kind of appraised everyone in this, but a demonic being made himself known, who's friendly to Olivia, because Olivia in a previous incarnation has been a jinn, a lower level being. That's part of why she can commune with beings high and low. She's a being of the light, but she can commune with beings of the dark unaffected. And this demon basically said that he's now going to feed on Dennis, because Dennis, I guess partly because Dennis is unrepentant, and Dennis, all Dennis cares about is money. And I'm not going to say the demon's name, but the demon's name was similar to Mammon, which is the demon of greed. And then this demon's name was similar to that demon's name. And it was just really interesting. So that's what it looks like. So you have people on the other side who are very unrepentant. And what I'm told, I've had this confirmed by another source, is for that some of these unrepentant souls who don't want to accept our olive branch or amnesty and do the right thing and name names and free the children and all that. Well, many of them are destined for an incarnation to prison planets, and prison, like bad like not fun. One of these planets apparently looks like the planet depicted in the film Pitch Black. It's like this harsh desert planet, which is already horrible and terrible to live on and survive on in the best times. But then every like 5 or 10 years or some kind of cycle, the way their planets line up, they have this total eclipse where their suns are totally eclipsed out for 2 years up to like at a time. And at that point, all this stuff that lives in the inner of that planet, that subterranean nastiness, comes out to the surface to feed on whatever's living on the surface. And the deal with that is that if you're incarnated on this planet and you're all service to self, and you're like killing everyone just so you can have me, even in the best circumstances on that planet, you're going to have a rough time. But when it goes pitch black and all the real baddies come out from the inner earth of that planet, if you don't learn the lessons of how to cooperate with your fellow beings to survive, none of you make it. Yep.
I don't concern myself with any of that nonsense.
So
I know where I'm going.
Let's please consider this, that within this structure, again, there is no vengeance or cruelty. So during shamanic healings and through certain magical practices, such beings are assigned to spiritual prison, where there's a process of purification. They burn, most certainly, but only to the degree for what is remaining to be of service to the highest good of all once again. There's like removing the cancer for the being to continue evolving, because at one point or another, something has gone wrong. We all come from the same beloved source of all sources. Mm-hmm. So it's just that they are so damaged that they cannot, again, freely choose to heal. There's something gone wrong. And so this process of correction occurs.
That's lovely. That's lovely. They still have an opportunity at some point to make the proper changes. Yes. So
I think there's some evidence that these other beings are beginning to migrate into our realities, and they see us and we see them, and both of us are mystified. And that's going to happen an awful lot more. But it's not anybody's fault.
No.
But at the same time, just because a crocodile eats you doesn't make it bad. But at the same time, you want to be happy with people and respect. And I see more loving interaction between lots of animals and humans. And I think there is a connection happening there.
Miles, our one housemate and business partner, Jaden Mills here, he's an animal communicator telepath. He's able to telepathically communicate with our dogs here, like Winnie the Wonder Dog. Winnie shared with us, like a lot of these times that you see shadow people, the reason why we see shadow people is these are beings that exist in a different dimension. So we're not able to see them directly. We're able to see their shadow. And she's like, you guys are stupid. You didn't know that? And she's telepathically communicating this to us, a dog, to Jaden. Winnie, of course, has lived past lives as a human before, so whatever.
Well, all you have to be blind or not see something is for the packet, the photonic packet that we see things with. It just has to be out of frequency enough that it's still there, but it doesn't trigger our atomic structures to see. So we see a blackness.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you have experienced shadow beings and the Hat Man, and they have veils over them or cloaks over them. But I was followed by one, and I remember I seen him way at the other end. I was walking home from the grocery store, and he just kind of came down the street and kind of just like, out at me, and I'm like, I'm not walking that way. Sorry, guy. They used to, and I would see these little scutters. They look like, and I heard Max Spears talk about it. I would see them outside in front of the building where I lived, and they would just make these just mischievous sounds. And I would look at them like, what are they? Trying to figure out. That was during the time when I was had my full-blown Kundalini.
At Harwell, I talked to a patent attorney. His job is to be on site at Harwell, which is at the Appleton, the Rutherford Appleton Labs at Harwell. So if they invented something, they had to have legal attorneys available to make sure that all the stuff was there to sign. So he was able to see these things just skittering around.
And also gin. I had a gin underneath, and I talked to Simon Parks, and he said, absolutely, that was a gin. They sent a gin to observe me and watch me, but I'm looking. I looked at it, I was like, I can see you. Like, clearly see you. And it just stayed there underneath the chandelier, and I left to go see my aunt. But Simon said yes, that was a jinn, especially under a chandelier. That's a common, when you're being observed or you're being targeted or they're watching you and they're observing you and all that kind of stuff.
Why a chandelier?
I don't know. I wish I would have asked that, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that.
It's the geometry of the crystalline structures, like the glass crystal. If they're crystal chandeliers, they have that effect. But now something to be spoken about the jinn. These are fire elementals. They are the first inhabitants of Earth. And so through the multiple invasions, the technology of enslaving them was introduced to a certain priesthood, which exists now through the Goetia and through the Key of Solomon. By the way, this is what most of the, let's say, secret societies use. I've got their entire curriculum, all 100 libras. This is pretty much it. So you start reading, it's pretty racist, it's misogynistic, it's backwards, and then probably 2/3 of the way through it becomes outright satanic. So this is the modes of operation they use. They enslave these poor beings, which is disrespectful to life, and it's absolutely unacceptable and disgusting. So these wonderful and wise and ancient beings are going to be liberated with humanity. So this
that's wonderful.
awful system of control. Yes, Miles. These
And
poor
the
beings have
BBC were doing
suffered.
that with me for 6 months in Manchester, and that they had it in a broken a wind instrument.
Have what, Miles? Repeat that, please.
The jinn was housed in a musical wind instrument, and when you break the instrument, you just take it apart to aerate. They released it into the central control area of BBC Manchester. Took me ages to find out why are they doing this. But it's interesting that when I started asking questions, my BBC colleagues got a bit nervous because I was, and so that was one of my experiences with the BBC in 2010, 2011.
Yes. So, and this has then also formed into the corruption of the Kabbalah. Now, this is a deeply spiritual and beautiful tradition, right? Shout out to everybody who practices this with integrity. But of course, with where free will exists, there's the possibility of corruption. It doesn't reflect on the system. It's not like judo is better than karate. No. It's what you do with this. And so there's absolutely abuse of magic in the, let's say, the global cabal. They do this. Okay, we've all come across this. It's beyond refute, and I have the curriculum that actually shows how they train these little monkeys. So that's all going away.
How do they get their karma? How do they offset their karma on this? It's a bit like carbon trading, but how do they make sure they
can't? They can't.
I've heard they can't.
There is no.
They can't get. They can't. I heard they can postpone it, and they do tricks to postpone their karma or to try to put their karma on other people, and it can only work temporarily. But apparently, what happens is you can accrue enough karma over lifetimes, especially, that is always deferred karma to the point where higher galactic beings of light can convene what's called a soul tribunal. And generally that's after apparently you've built up lots of undealt with karma. Sorry, Dr. Amir.
Real quick, Miles, used to talk about a karma dumping. I've heard him speak to you about that on the shows. Karma dumping.
I need to go through that, but what he's just been doing is publish an awful lot of stuff on what he calls the misnaming, the misinformation on Lucifer and the Jewish God, there's a God for the Jews, and there's an awful lot of balance and imbalance in that, which is going to backfire on those who have abused that. But it's about 11 episodes, and I don't know. All I know is that he's only doing this now in the last.
It's on YouTube, Miles. Is it on YouTube?
It is. It's on.
Check it out.
It is on YouTube, and he's doing it from Vietnam.
Yeah. So Miles, I'm sorry, Dr. Amir, what do you think about Lucifer? Because there's people that believe Lucifer is the light bringer, and that he's going to, he's the true God. And what are your thoughts about that? I know better.
Well,
but...
there is a sentience with this name, so this is a real thing. And of course, the being enjoys the street cred, but there are things far worse than this entity in human form. Perhaps a lot of these fallen angelic beings like the mischief of initiating trouble, like lighting the fuse. But the way humanity takes it to the extreme is beyond any of these. So the potential for wrongdoing in the heart of man is the greatest evil.
Yeah.
Now, just going back to the whole thing of karma, it is not erased. There is no getting around. There are records kept. And I'm not speaking about the Akashic records, which is basically a public library. There are divine records of life. With beings of primordial void and primordial sound. These are not, they cannot be distorted. And so whatever imbalance we cause must be balanced by the soul. There is no way out of it. So that's good. There is going to be fair judgment. And so sometimes, however, they have gone so wrong that there is no fixing them. And so then they will be disintegrated. So it's just that the entire soul shard is part of the cancer plaguing the evolution of consciousness, and we say good riddance. But all in all, from what I have seen, people are becoming more aware. The terrible technologic and energetic disadvantage that humanity has been facing is easing through the efforts of many, many wonderful beings. And there's interest in this topic, which is growing most encouragingly among the young. The new kids that are born, the teenagers, they're tapped in. My generation was not like this. Many of my peers would look at me and say I'm bloody lunatic. Right? And I've faced this. But no, the new ones, the young ones, you say something and there's no question whether I'm crazy or not. They know it to be true from their heart. This is what happens. The old ones are done. The new ones coming in are our hope. And now looking at their wonderful brilliance, this is where humanity is going. So all in all, things are on the mend. There's so much to be grateful for and to rejoice.
Lovely.
Something I'd like to point out, we've got a conference next year.
Yeah.
And where the kids that you're talking about, they need information. They need, and so how do we communicate with that? And on another little thing, all my colleagues told me I was abducted on Friday because I've got 3 little dots, a triangle of 3 little tiny puncture marks on this hand.
Oh, I can speak to that, Miles. So
okay, guys, I'm stepping away for a minute. I'll be right back.
Apparently, a lot of the ET groups, like if they take you, that is indication of a medical technology, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. So apparently, sometimes we're abducted by our friends because they want to check in, make sure we're not being affected by the crap in the air or the water, the food, or to cleanse us out, whatever. So it might not be a bad thing. It might be because you're more your starseed family coming as opposed to negative SSP.
Well, it was interesting when I was rigging for the conference on Friday that an American, you're in the middle of Wiltshire, you're in an English village, they don't speak American, they speak an English dialect called Wiltshire, all that sort of stuff. Well, I shouldn't say that. They speak very eloquent English. So it's rather strange that an American should come into the hall wishing to use the toilets. yet this public toilet's just beside the hall. And so this American sort of walks in, and I'm sure there's nothing suspicious there that an American on a rainy day should walk into a little English village hall to say, could I use your restroom, please? So I don't know whether it happened then. I didn't notice it until the Saturday night when everybody could see, oh, Miles, they have. There's no way that my friends and colleagues would ever over-egg a pudding. So that's when they also, you've been abducted.
Because it's pretty clear, the markings.
Oh, yeah, it's very, I mean, I can't
triangle.
really, it is, you can't really see it. It's too bright.
But
It's
does
a
it look like
perfect triangle.
freckles? Does it look like freckles in a perfect triangle?
Yes, it looks like freckles in a perfect triangle. It's perfect. And it's still there. I mean, this is 4 days old.
Yep. No, it's possible that.
But what I'm thinking of is we're talking about the kids, these new kids, and we're talking about all this stuff happening. But how do we communicate and get an effective audience into this into this conference series?
So a couple of things.
How do we talk to these people?
So our conferences are free to people who are 18 and under. So we're very much encouraging people, and
But how do you get to
with
their...
a guardian. So part of it is reaching out to their parents first of all. Apparently, there's a generation of children. A lot of them are already born, are like 9 years old to 20, and these are known as the Olympia group, as in like they came from the heights of Mount Olympus, and they're here to help Earth. And they're going to be really good at things like not only spiritual technology, but even computer technology, where their hacking abilities are apparently going to be really helpful in countering negative AI efforts, which is really helpful for us. And that's very understandable. And so anything we can do to reach out to the youth with things like our conferences, the knowledge that you've been sharing on the Basis Project.
Where do we advertise? How do we do that? How do we...
I think
TikTok or
so.
whatever.
They will find you.
Yeah,
They will find you.
Doing our own platforms and the conferences. The kids who don't want to look up how to, do a radical makeover and want to learn more about the Montauk Project and the secret space programs and time travel, they're going to gravitate towards us naturally. We need to shine
The
our
best
light
thing
quite as
is
we can.
YouTube.
And when they do that, we better have the answers.
Yeah.
Yes. And we do. I mean, we do.
Correct.
I mean, listen to what
There
the level of
is-
information that we're sharing is cutting edge.
There's a resonance to truth that is undeniable. That is the most important thing. You are honest. You're not treating them like children, because they are incredible, powerful souls.
Yeah.
And so also please consider that the new generation are plagued with electronic entertainment. So their attention span is very, very small. So you put it into small, bite-sized 10-minute sections, very clear, very logical, start to end. Please add music. Okay? This calms the conscious and subconscious mind, something that is hip, something that is new. They will find you, Miles. What you have to present is deeply sought after. So small little chunks of information, and don't worry about bringing it down to a child level. That is not necessary. These are mature souls.
I've had better conversations. I've had better conversations with a 5-year-old than I've had with the average adult, to be honest. They completely switched on and they're fascinated.
I love talking to children.
They are looking for you. They are looking for you in great numbers. You need not
I've
worry
got
about
pussycats
that.
that cross the road in the rain to come and talk to me. Weird.
Okay,
So
so
the pussycat's under a car. It's perfectly happy. It's dry, and it comes over and says hello.
I get that too, Miles.
Maybe that's
And
too
at
much
the dog park,
information.
people always make
Brian,
comments
can you
on
handle that?
how their
Yeah,
dogs.
well, they sense the love that we project at them, especially the animals. If you project a love wave, I notice like when I'm walking and there's a crowd of people and someone's walking with their dogs, the dog will look at me and I'll do a little at it, and the dog will every time make it a point to come up, get pets from me, kiss my hand, thank you. We keep going on, but it's every time. That's the thing.
For sure, Brian, you definitely have that energy.
Now, I know we have Drago asked a question in the audience here. Dr. Amir, what's your analysis of the 3 marks on Miles's hand there?
That
Miles,
was my
you
friend
just got
Colin there. He was
a
on the phone.
Okay.
Sorry.
You just received a 15-year increase in your lifespan. You are beloved by many. They just did an overall check and made sure that you are. Oh, there we go. Here I'm back. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So somebody doesn't want me to say this. You just got an extra lease on life. They extended your lifespan by at least 15 years. You are beloved
Does this mean
by,
that I get my hair back?
let's say, people.
Did you do some P90
No,
sessions?
but that doesn't.
Sorry.
I appreciate that, Doctor.
Sorry,
Focus
Dr.
on
Amir.
the heart muscle. Focus on your heart muscle. Some corrective work has been done to guarantee, or let's say very, very significantly increase the probability of you being here with us. You are beloved by many, my dear friend, and keep shining bright. It just wants to ensure that you see the fruits of your wonderful life. That is just the gift that you receive. Do not be concerned. It is positive. And the Yankee, let's just say he was there for me.
Make sure that
fantastic, Miles.
And Dr.
We all
Amir,
love you, Miles. I love you, Miles. You know that.
and
I
the
think it's
reason
all
why
I bought this Christmas jumper here. There it is.
chilling with a snowman, chilling my snowman.
I love them.
If you're going to buy a stupid Christmas jumper, get one that's going to be stupid. Anyway.
Okay, I just want to make a quick mention, Miles. You had joined us a little later, but our next show, guys, everybody that's listening, we are going to be doing a show specific to technology like this. And yeah, Brian's got his, Dr. Amir's got his. We gotta get Miles some.
I know the other ones, but what's the
This? You mean that?
It's a Vajra. A Vajra is depicted in a lot of the ancient Indian scripts. Like the Mahabharata.
I've seen something about that. Yeah,
and Dr. Jahangiri is an expert in what these are about, so that definitely deserves a show.
Yeah,
it looks as if I'm embarrassed. I mean, the best I can do is this, you know.
There you go.
No, Miles, when I was working in Orlando, there was a gentleman that was selling singing bowls and different instruments and different stuff. And I walked up to the table and immediately I felt pulled to these two.
I've never seen anywhere in this country with those things anywhere.
So I walked away and I'm thinking, it wasn't a terribly busy event. And I'm thinking I need to earn the money back that I invested to be there. And then just something, I felt this pull to go back and to get them. And then I text Dr. Amir. I was like, look what I got. And he was like, they will serve you well. They are powerful.
This is the path of Tantra. It is ancient, and now it is one of the most powerful modalities for the liberation of the soul, healing, sexuality, magic, and manifestation. And now thinking about it, it doesn't take very long to embody the energy, perhaps 2 weeks. And so this is, I find this very auspicious, and that I'm getting confirmation from 8-10 different places, all people coming with these Vajras. And so perhaps it would be really beneficial to give our wonderful audience just the basics of what it is, what it does, and how to set them on their journey. You don't need a guru for this stuff, for goodness sake. You just need correct information and your willpower. Keep at it. Okay, what you need for our audience next time, please buy a set of mala beads. Doesn't have to be made of anything special. 108 beads. You're just reciting 108 full rounds of the mala. What is the mantra? So you have different, let's say, houses of Tantra. I'm of the Vajra Kilaya, the primordial void. Vajra Kili Kilaya Sarva Vignam Vamhumpe. This is what the Dalai Lama uses. The Grandmaster Rinpoche uses this. So there are many, many paths of enlightenment through the Tantra. So the Vajrakilaya Tantra, this is by Khenpo Namdrol. So get your mala beads. Next time I'll run you through the whole system in 5 minutes. No extra doo-doo.
We're going to do that in January. Don't give too much up right now. I want everybody to join us. Do what, yes, as Dr. Amir recommended, to get your tools, gather them. You have a month to do it before we come back on. Miles, we definitely want you here for that.
He's got 15 more years with us at least, so he should be good.
Well, I've got my Tibetan bells. I bought a new set of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are good for clearing energy, right?
Yeah, I'll see if I've got them.
Yeah. While Miles is getting his bells, I wanted to make a comment because I'm sure there are people in the audience who are probably thinking, well, geez, can't the ETs come and visit all of us and extend their lives? And I'd say if they're your starseed family and you've had a past life incarnation with that grouping, then it's not apparently a violation of the Prime Directive for them to pay a visit and to provide the gift of life extension and health, for example.
Nice,
Oh, here, ring
Miles.
those, Miles. Yeah, ring those for us. Oh, wow. These really ring.
Miles, you hit those and move them up and down your body to clear the energy in your body.
See, I do this thing automatically. If I had a clue what I was doing, I'd mess it up.
Okay, can we just quickly? I want to. So, Dr. Amir, would you be able to tap into what's the deal with this United Healthcare young man losing his life? Do you know anything about?
Sorry for those outside the 64 states or whatever it is. Who is he?
Can I give a rundown?
Okay.
So,
right.
yeah.
Real quick, let me just read this real quick, Brian. Then, yeah. The tragic killing of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, has continued to make headlines, and new details emerge about the suspect, Luigi Mangione. I don't know if
Mangione.
Mangione, a 26-year-old Ivy League graduate and software developer, was apprehended in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Authorities have linked him to the ambush shooting of Thompson at a healthcare conference in New York City last week. Mangione reportedly left behind a manifesto criticizing the healthcare industry and corporate greed. Shedding some light on his motivations, the document suggests his actions were premeditated with the healthcare conference chosen for its public visibility. Investigators also noted his history of back pain and dissatisfaction with medical treatments, which may have influenced his views. His background as a highly educated individual and former valedictorian adds a complex layer to this case, leaving many shocked at his involvement. The incident has raised concerns about high-profile security and potential copycat threats. Law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, are continuing their investigation, while United Healthcare has expressed gratitude to law enforcement and support the Thompson family. So, yes, Brian, please. We would love to hear what you have to say.
Oh, and I have information I want to share, and mostly from I want to give credit to Psychic Liz Cross, to be found on YouTube, because she did a mind probe of Luigi Mangione. But before I reveal that or share that information, and give, of course, Psychic Liz Cross credit, and I'm totally in agreement with her mind probe, I'd like to hear what Dr. Amir has to say.
What is her mind probe? What did she get, Brian? You didn't share with us what she said.
I want to hear what Dr. Amir has to say, and then I'll share.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it. Okay.
There are certain beings that, in face of pressure, even the threat of death, stand in their integrity. when they are faced with the burden, the terrible burden of responsibility for so many, they say no. No to distortion and no to sweeping actions that are going to take a toll on the well-being of many, including our beloved children. And so it's very easy to eliminate these wonderful people, right? Accidents happen every day. This has been with our kind forever. The gentleman in question was a person of integrity. And so he is not among us in physicality anymore, and yet he has ascended as a soul because of his righteousness.
You're referring to the gentleman that died and lost his life, Dr. Amir. So you're suggesting that, okay, so I'm clear and the audience is clear. So
because the audience in the U.S. is not in general very sympathetic to this person's passing.
Right, that's why
because United Health had, I think it was a 32% denial rate, which is the highest in the industry, and they were utilizing some AI software that was like really faulty and nasty.
But I
don't understand that. What do you mean, a denial rate, or what does that mean?
Okay, so here in the U.S. we have privatized healthcare known as health management organizations, or HMOs. And the way that they operate is because a person would sign into a plan, pay a monthly premium, like in health insurance every month. The insurance company, they take your monthly premium, they give a chunk to the CEO, all the rest of the executives, the shareholders, and then whatever's left over goes to maybe the doctors and hospitals and pharmacies for your care. Okay. And so the way that if you're a patient and you need a heart surgery, you don't just go to the National Health, NIH that you guys have, National Health Services, NHS over there, and say, I need a heart surgery. What you need to do is you have to go to your health maintenance organization that you've been paying your premiums to, say, hey, I need a $60,000 heart surgery and hospital stay. Are you going to approve it or deny it? And then these companies, they use their little computer AI algorithms to scan denials, and automatically out of 100 heart surgery requests or whatever, they're going to automatically deny 3 out of 10 off the bat. And then they're going to find another 3 out of those 10 to deny for other reasons by sicking their actuaries on it. And then the remaining 4 out of 10, fine, you'll get a heart surgery. And these denial rates have caused huge amounts of pain and suffering in populations that have, had their care denied. Now, having said that, the information that Liz Cross is providing is more not on the CEO, which Dr. Amir is tuning into, but Luigi Mangione and in his mind state and his potential motivations. And what I understand from what Liz Cross says on her show, and with Robert Khalil of Typical Skeptic podcast, and other people like Mr. Reality is another show she's a co-host with her. The way it works is she's using her psychic ability to either tap into the conscious or the subconscious, or she can even do the higher self of a person and query them, because we are all multidimensional beings. So whether we're alive or dead right now at this time and place, you can mind probe any of us. It doesn't matter, because of time doesn't exist and we're multidimensional beings. When she mind probed Luigi Mangione, what she found, because a lot of people have pointed out, well, Luigi wasn't even insured by United Health, so why target Brian Thompson? Well, apparently the deal is that Luigi is very intelligent. He's dealing with these lower back problems, which we need some kind of surgery. It's apparently being denied, not by United Health, but by some other insurance company. Yes, his family is wealthy, but for some reason, somehow he's alienated from them. He's cut off from them. So sure, your family's got a lot of money. Does that mean they're going to get you pay for your back surgery? Not necessarily. And so here's a young person who, was valedictorian, bright future. Now they're going to be suffering this debilitating back pain. Sure, they're from a wealthy family, but they themselves as an individual is not wealthy. They're not getting their care. They're angry. Maybe they've got mental health issues and other stresses. And what he was doing was apparently he was targeting a bunch of these CEOs. But the deal with this Brian Thompson guy was his security was lax, and they were publishing where he was going to be. He was going to be at a deposition. He's going to be at some healthcare conference in New York or something. So Luigi knew where to find him, and then that's where he did the deed. But it's the reason why I agree with Liz Cross's evaluation of this mind probe is there's a lot of people in our community and the mainstream corporate media where they're trying to turn this, oh, it's a psyop, and there's some weird thing, and he was put up to it, and this is a distraction. And what I'm saying is that this is a manifestation of populist outrage that millions and millions of people in this country alone are dealing with. And the fact that one individual would take a vigilantism into their hands, I'm surprised this hasn't happened earlier in this timeline. This is a really great opportunity for private security, if you want to be a bodyguard, by the way. And a lot of these corporations, they're now reversing some of their more recent egregious decisions because they're like, oh, no, please don't hunt us down.
I think in the UK, people are very angry. They're getting pissed off they're just being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And I mean, it's. Well,
I have United Healthcare, and I received a bill for the first time since I've had it ever, because I'm on dual complete. So I have both. I have Medicaid, Medicare, because I'm on disability. I work part-time, so I have coverage for Medicaid and Medicare, which United Healthcare is the provider. And I received a bill. I have it out there. I called the insurance company this morning to find out why I'm getting a bill. And evidently something's been changed in my insurance that I wasn't aware of. So I went to, let me grab it.
And that's messed up, Ida, because if you're already on Medicare, Medicaid, you're known as a Medi patient, which means you already have pretty decent government care. I'll do a shameless plug here, and I'll share the link with you, Ida, perhaps to put in the show notes. But I'm a representative for Impact Health Sharing. And this is instead of giving your money to an HMO where they take your money up front, give it to CEO, the shareholders, and the rest, and then whatever's left over. These started as more church-based groups that got tired of watching their members get denied heart surgeries. So they pool their money in what's called health sharing groups. And then they cut out all this bloat, and then there's a lot more money to pay for your care and your doctors on time and in full. And so yeah. I'll share that link, and it benefits me. I get a small commission, but I'm putting that back into the movement. And it's a way of building alternative healthcare systems to undermine these healthcare establishments, which are monsters.
Yeah. So basically it says I went to have blood work done to find out about my thyroid, what was going on. And that's when I found out the results that my thyroid is normal for the first time. And since I took a flu shot in 2013, mind you, that comes from the pulse electric magnetic field therapy treatment that I am doing. It's mind blowing. It's changing people's lives, Brian, Miles, Dr. Amir. That machine is changing people's lives. It's amazing. But they've gone all the way back to 12/19. You can't see 12/19 all the way up to 9/19/2024. Wanting to bill me for whatever. It's only $100. I can pay it. It's the principle of it. Why am I now receiving a thing? And they said that it was changed in July, which means I wasn't aware of that. Nobody contacted me and said your insurance is changing. Or yeah.
So I all I can say is, having done 8 years of medical advocacy from 2003 to 2011, that's par for the course. I'm always surprised that in the wake of this CEO's assassination that they sent you that. But as far as it goes, $100 is, it gets worse than that. But yeah, that's par for the course, because the other side, they're failing financially, and they're having their issues because of their bioweapons is backfiring on them. And in so many ways, it's hurting their economy and their bottom lines.
Brian, so I attempted suicide in 2004 and crossed over and came back. And I applied for 2005. I'm sorry, 2005 5. I applied for SSI and was approved. And in 3 months, I was approved and the money was in my account. And I know it had everything to do with being part of these projects and programs and having suicide.
Because that's not normal. It's not normal that people so easily get approved for Social Security income or Social Security disability income. And so that's always like, yeah, you've got it. If there's any indication in the here and now that you're part of the SSPs, Ida.
Well, I'm fully aware that I am.
Moved in your favor. Like, oh my God, that's a miracle.
But what I'm trying to say to you is so I was approved for Part A and Part B. I should not be getting a bill, period. But I didn't mean to get into all that and all my I just was saying, considering now that all this stuff's happening with United Healthcare, I mean, my doctor is billing me. So we understand that United Healthcare is now taking over hospitals. The doctors, they can't, get paid because the insurance company, all the nonsense that's going on. Yeah. And I don't want to be on, more than anybody, Brian, I talked to you about this enough.
I'm going to share that link with you, Ida. I'm going to share that link with you. I'm going to message it to you and then put it in the show notes.
And for other people too, we can always.
Just an added caveat: the CEO in question, setting aside the conditions of his assassination, it was set into motion because he was refusing to play ball any longer. So there was things going on underneath that was too much for even him. He said no. And so then security details coming out, for example, his itinerary being published, right? That's just setting up for the end of let's say, the objective. So somehow something
like a soul contract.
This guy to the point.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you were sharing, Brian.
So
it is a soul contract.
So in a way, right, here's a soul contract with perhaps Luigi Mangione and Brian Thompson, the CEO, and through this great event, it is definitely catalyzing worldwide global awareness of corporate excess, among other things. So I that is understandable from a higher fifth sense.
That's what I was thinking when you were sharing about it. That's the first thing that came to my mind. These guys had a soul contract.
Precise, and this is set into motion before any of these came into body, of course. So the objective and what this event is eventually going to do for the collective,
the impact,
is beneficial.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you, Dr. Amir. Thank you for clarifying and giving us more detail and understanding about that.
So that makes the corporate elite nervous. I mean, I gather Bezos has had armed guards around his place and whatever.
Miles, the amount of schadenfreude and joy it brings us this Christmas season is incredible. And I hate to say it, that it's off the death of a person, but it's the thing is there's something in our society, the liberalism. Oh my gosh, the death of this person. But you have to understand that the systems that these people, in this case, he was a CEO of this corporation, that millions of people that are suffering to drive their profiteering. That's a bigger lesson that humanity needs to internalize, and that's why the lamestream media is going to do everything they can to personalize it and individualize it and get it off of the larger sick culture that has to be addressed, and that's a great service that I would say was done here.
I think it's time the broadcasters and the broadcast governing bodies begin to feel a bit of heat that way. I've got to be careful what I say there.
Well, there's there's a REM song. Wait, what is it? What's the channel, Mister or whatever? And it's about one of these newscasters who got beat up in the parking lot of the broadcast studios, and I suspect that broadcaster might be part of the CIA Operation Mockingbird to basically spread disinformation, and they may be related to the programs and some of the SRA in some ways, and that's why that broadcaster was beaten up so badly, and how that made it into the REM song. Yeah, what's the frequency, Mister? I forget the name of the song or whatever, but that's one of the lyrics.
Well, there's a great deal of broadcasters here seem to be like the old bowling ball. They've been there for years. They've known, decades, and then suddenly one day, he's going through a dreadful time. But this is one after another.
Well, Miles, you with your history, brief history at the BBC, I'd love to ask you this question. Did you ever get to run afoul of the notorious Jimmy Savile over there? Because talking about nasty broadcasters, he was up there with the worst of them.
Well, I wasn't personally involved with that, but that was down to Television Centre, darling. I did 5 years at BBC in Northern Ireland, but I also got into what they call the special projects down in central London. And that got me to see inside the Television Centre and what was going on in those buildings. And then I had my sabbatical in pirate radio, and I then was with Sky Television for 21 years, just short of 21 years. But that was a break into freedom. It was unbelievable. But they brought me back into BBC Manchester, and it was very rare to be brought back. But I wasn't brought back to sort of, let's give this decent man a decent job and help him out. They were psychobabbling, and that's where they used the gin. That's where I found out the BBC was intricately involved with the gin.
They did a setup. They set you up.
Yeah, they did, and I knew what was going on. I was getting attacked, nightmares, all sorts of stuff like that. But it was interesting the way that the upper management, because the place was closing down, all these managers would come in and they'd all discuss things. And the man in charge of closing the place down was a new manager, so he didn't know the deep background of how the BBC works. So he sort of said, we've got these emails about you. So he was telling me everything I needed to know, and the other guys' faces were all sort of going scared. I was scared the living shit out of these guys. So it was in the nicest possible way, of course, and that's with reference to a particular broadcaster called Kenny Everett. But the thing about it is the way the Children in Need thing happens. This is a major charity thing the BBC runs every year, and the other one is Red Nose Day. Red nose as in a clown with a red nose, and then you've got the BBC Children in Need logo is a teddy bear with one eye. It's got a bandage over one eye.
It's all sinister. It's all very everything is named off
and
sinister.
Only certain people would be involved with the broadcast.
Like a BBC charity, if anything gives me the chills, that's like a Vatican daycare.
Yeah, right, Brian.
Yeah, well, it's exactly the same thing. And one of the key people who, and I've got to be careful here, involved with that, helping the children. There was an organization set up by a certain key major broadcaster where kids could phone in and help. And that was those were kids who'd broken the program, and then they'd phone this number to get help, and they'd just be picked up and put straight back into it. In fact, there's a lot more involving that particular person you mentioned some moments ago. I've got to use all this stupid language. There's been a major court case with regards to the author of this book, which is the final edition, and he's on this as the back. And I'll just point to him. They can you see that?
What's his name? Who is that? John Walston. Okay. And what's the name of your book there, Miles? With
that's Far Above Space Time. It's how have I shown you this before? No,
you've mentioned it, but for the audience, please.
Well, this is how he's under huge surveillance, and that's a Chinook helicopter flying outside. This is how you can modify a telescope to see the huge spacecraft in orbit. And these are some of his pictures. I think this is from 2009. So you can build a telescope, put a TV camera on it, and that is secret space program in orbit about 500 miles up.
Wow.
And they've even got construction cranes and diggers in space equipped for flight. So when you go off to somewhere you need to dig holes and build things, you got to have the equipment, the construction equipment. This is more of his pictures. Now the point about it is this book tells you, when you get this book, how to build your own telescope and how to modify it. So, for instance, these are huge feckers, right?
Yeah.
So this allows
like
you
a combination of 2001 Space Odyssey and the Battlestar Galactica ships. And I think John Whitberg, among others, has said a lot of the space Solar Warden, they look like the Battlestar Galactica ships a bit. And then there's also the USS Hillenketter that's been depicted as like a giant cigar with orbs on the end.
The point about this book is this is how you can build your own telescope. This is how he did it. He did 3 or 4 different stages. One of the key aspects of it is you don't want the image from the telescope to go through the lens of the camera. That reduces everything. You take the lens off and get it so that the optical distance falls directly onto the CCD chip of your camera. Okay, so you've got to figure around with a few things, and it means you can go and take a Celestron telescope or something and interface with full spectrum cameras now. Stick that on. I mean, some of this stuff is 2006. It was 20 years ago.
Courtney Brown is suggesting that we can use our regular phones now, our cell phones, and take.
Well, the problem with cell phones is they've got a little cover at the front, and they get internal reflections. So when people take pictures of the sun, oh, we got 2 suns. Oh, we're being invaded Nibiru. Oh no, it's because the bloody thing's reflecting inside the lens and then back onto the chip. The other thing you need to do with your cell phone.
I have seen the second sun with my naked eye.
Yeah,
I will confess. I have seen the second sun with my own naked eyes. Like, it's trippy. I've also seen the face above the moon once or twice, which is really trippy. That might be Project Bluebeam, though.
No, I think that's probably nice ice crystals up there.
No. I'll show you. I'm going to show you.
I'm going to give you a hard time on this.
Worldwide, people around the world from different countries.
Yeah, but they're using these stupid cameras, and they're not getting any relative object within the picture to give you an idea of what the hell you're taking pictures of.
So John Walson was showing,
and then they're using their phones vertical, and you're getting much less resolution.
And John Walson was saying that you want to take the image and have it projected directly onto the CMOS
CCD.
Yes,
charge couple device or whatever.
Okay, I want to ask Miles something. Miles, you want to give us an update on Mr. James Casbolt? You want to share it?
Mr. James Casbolt is just getting on with his life. A couple of individuals who he has betrothed to, they've had a hissy fit and a tantrum because he's no longer betrothed to the one that he was betrothed to before. And so there's another person betrothed to him. But we know that they did very bad things with James in jail. Mm-hmm. And he needs help. And he needs to be healed and given a chance. He's been through a treadmill in jail. They didn't. And I'm only have to use these terms because I don't want to say certain things because he's had a hard time. Now, he went in there by choice. Yeah. He didn't have to. Basically, he was effectively throwing stones at the police station so they would arrest him. But he didn't think he'd get quite the level of sentence he did get. But he's now out. He's paid his debt to society. And he's, I think, now being allowed to speak or be known in the public domain since May of this year. And he's been talking to Bob Osborne, because Bob Osborne done a huge amount of research down in Cornwall. He's just up the road from St. Ives down in Cornwall.
Okay, and Miles, so I would like you to arrange for him to come on and be on the show with us. Talk with James.
Well, let him know he was given an option. I had a B&B ready for him, but I think he has to take things very carefully himself. and he's not the same person that went into jail. That problem, that situation does need to be addressed.
Dr. Amir, you'd be willing to talk with James Casbolt? Would you be willing to help him?
Make any public statement on this, Doctor?
Yeah.
Amir.
Okay. Yeah, we'll wait.
Off the books, I would suggest.
That's fine.
But we may not be doing him any favors by inviting him on a public domain. He has to do what he's been told and just keep it in the background and see what happens.
But he could still maybe. Okay, we'll talk about it off camera.
And I know that there's someone in our community named Lauren Pritchard, and she's raising funds to go visit James.
Yeah. I think they want to go do some business. I mean, now you've mentioned their names. They're trying to see what
she's
sort
public. She's public about it, so I'm not like
okay, fine. So I mean, the point is they'll go down to Zenner, go down to see Bob, because I mean, this everything's within about 5 minutes drive down there. You're getting to a small part of England where the north coast and the south coast you can practically see each other. And there's a lot of really heavy stuff's been going on down in that area because two ley lines have been intertwining there, and of course up the road, so to speak, you've got RAF St. Morgan, the base that has been in, and we talked about that. So there's a lot of activities there, and there are the trapped souls of the miners taken by the Tommyknockers. I mean, those miners would hear, they're the Greys. When they heard that, they knew they were going to die. And those souls are still down there. And my friend Miriam has picked up on that. My friend Miriam from Holland, she's actually staying here at the moment.
So Miles, the Tommyknockers are these paranormal beings who, when people are doing like things like coal mining and they're underground, they'll hear knocking, and
they were mining for tin. The tin mines of Cornwall are multitudinous, and they would, and then the owners, how are they going to get them out? So they would be trapped down in those mines, and it's a horrendous thing. That happened to a hell of a lot of miners down there, and they were the Tommyknockers because you'd hear them knock. And Lisa Williams did a lot of research on that, and of course she's not with us either. But maybe, I mean, Miriam's picked up on that. She's done a couple of videos about it, and some very interesting things about stones here near Lockeridge, here in Wiltshire, where they seem to be aliens captured and frozen in the rock.
Wow.
And there's lots of them, like they're spread out all over these special rocks, as if there's been a huge crash and they've been frozen in some kind of temporal stasis within the rocks. Huge craft, and this is in Wiltshire, Lockeridge, not too far from Silbury Hill.
Dr. Amir, does this go back to certain wars involving titans on like Earth going back thousands and thousands of years, and technologies that were used to literally turn some of these giant creatures into stone? And also this may have happened to trees as well.
Well, especially in the past 250,000 years, there's been so many wars. And so depending on when this started, when it occurred, so what my esteemed colleague is talking about, this is valid. So imagine the ship crashes and then part of the propulsion system malfunctions. Many of these advanced vessels do not use, let's say, plasma or jet fuel or any sort of 3D physics. They use portal technology. And so a malfunction in that sense would absolutely allow them to be pushed out through momentum, physical momentum of the crash, and then be trapped into the, let's say, the rock. Or again through the heat of the explosion,
what you're saying is
a tectite forming.
Is precisely what they were using at RAF Lynham. It was a power device from a Draco ship recovered from the Antarctic, and that went critical in RAF Lynham, just up the road from here.
You just blew my mind. That was one of the sites that I was remote viewing yesterday.
And
Yes,
the
very
road
very
collapsed.
likely.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing, Dr.
See, the
Amir.
area. There's another great book by Margaret Percy, and the area concerned is not too far from Avebury and Silbury Hill, and in that area is identical to where the D&M pyramid would be on Mars, and the area which we're talking about would be where there was a alleged crash of something big. There's a big craft underneath that. And then only a mile up the road, couple of miles up the road, is where these stones are. And this is all in the area of Avebury, which is right beside, or a mimic to the area, or identical to the area of Cydonia on Mars. And if I had the book, there's another brilliant book. Yeah, this is all about it.
And then Miles, there are also ley lines there. Not only is there like this, yeah.
This is all about Cydonia. It's written by Margaret Percy and Mary Bennett with David Percy. And they published an awful lot of stuff about the moon stuff way back in the 90s. And this is only published in 2020, I think, and it's got a forward by David Hatcher Childress. This is all about NASA, the double speak, triple speak, and avoidance of seeing anything. and making sure you don't know anything about something by making sure the latest photographs don't just work properly. It's the triple, double, quadruple stuff, and they connect. It's a great book, very heavy on the duplicity and
it's
side swiping and greasy palm, oily, everything else expressed about NASA and as it says on it. It's a great book.
It's wonderful that these some of these crash sites have been discovered, let's say even in the 1800s.
Yes.
Here I go again. Okay, somebody doesn't like me. Some of these crash sites have been discovered as early as, let's say, 1700s, 1800s, and the collective that started working on them started advancing way faster than the rest of the society. And so many of our breakaway civilizations are these people that are working generation after generation on the same vessel. So many of these, let's say, underground facilities that are existing right now they go back a few hundred years. Regular humans just becoming generational in the project. So these do exist, and they come from many different sources. Now, interesting that some of the weapons were reverse engineered to the point where they could shoot down unsuspecting visitors also. So there's a whole mishmash. There's the well-organized system, global system, and then there are little pocket societies existing, taking care of their secrecy with great care and great fear.
Kathy Morgan.
They are no more.
Kathy Morgan did a lot of research on some of the villages around Bath and Wiltshire and Somerset, where entire villages would simply go. Everybody in the village would simply vanish, and they just arrived. They all knew what they were going to do, and then they just left. And that's precisely what you're talking about.
In terms of ingenuity, we are all human. We are fantastic. And then there's such a massive gap in technology. It doesn't matter if it started in the 17th century or it starts today. And then still, through concerted effort, they would start understanding certain technologies and they would break away. There's a great abundance of such events in, let's say, the American continents, North America and South America. Now, thanks to you, I know this has been happening, for example, on mainland UK, but it makes perfect sense. It just makes perfect sense. So a lot of these guys are also now, they're kind of iffy. They don't know what to do. There's the mainstream control system collapsing. And then there's the fact of their secret existence, and the rest of the human population, which would be rightfully asking, why didn't you help us? You've had access to all this medical technology for the past, let's say, 250 years. Why didn't you help us? And so they're in a kind of a little predicament also.
Well, they actively, in the 1850s, made sure we weren't going to find out about it. They rewrote the books on physics and made sure anybody, that's one of the things about what Martin Colburn was talking about. Anybody who comes up with this stuff, electrogravitics and all that, anything that would have given them an advance, they were just right. You got your bullet with your name on it. That's going to the 1980s.
In the U.S. here, and it was Penny Bradley. She spoke about it at her conference in July. I think she mentioned it was the 1954. I'm getting the date wrong. Military Secrets Act, which empowers the U.S. government to basically eliminate or neutralize anybody coming forth with technologies of a military value that could be, of a military nature. Then that includes free energy, medical technology, and all of that. And
well, that's an assassin's. That's going to bite them in the ass.
Yes. Well,
everybody involved with that is going to bite them in the ass, and they're going to deserve it when they do it.
What Audrey Walters is saying, real quick, because it's about the galactic court system. Apparently, has told the breakaway civilizations, they've given them an ultimatum. By like 2028, I think it is, they either get to reveal themselves to all of us on Earth and let them know that they exist and to repatriate somehow, or never to reveal themselves, and then they get to go away and F off in space, and they don't get to be with Earth. And it's one or the other. And apparently it's a big ultimatum that's been put before the secret space programs. Sorry, Aida.
No, you don't have to be sorry, Brian, at all. I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. Oh, about so some are suggesting that med beds are already available, and I know that there's somebody working with somebody in Africa. I won't mention the person's name. Don't want to. And I know that Carrie Cassidy had mentioned on her show, I think last night. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it, but somebody had mentioned to me that there was an issue with Carrie saying, no, it's not true. Med beds aren't released yet. What do you say to that, Miles, or Dr. Amir? I mean, what do you think? What's going on? When are we going to start seeing?
I'll believe this about med beds when I see it. And with the way the health services are going, I don't see it.
I have some info. What Audrey Walters?
I know that there's somebody that I've mentioned to you, Brian. I don't want to mention his name, but I've watched a show that he went and used one of these med beds in Africa, and evidently it's supposed to be amazing. But when does the public get to use? Because right now there are people that are in alternative media or in the spiritual communities or in the whatever community you want to call it that are definitely monetizing having access to certain stuff that most of us do not.
So what I understand is there's different levels of med bed technology.
Go ahead.
Okay. And the most advanced stuff is supposed to be Palladian level technology, where they're using like AI and advanced holography to literally scan our genetics or anyone's genetics, use the AI to understand holographically what is the idealized code that genetics is encoding, like the body structure, proteins, everything. And then to manifest that using quantum physics. Okay, so now you've got quantum physics, AI, advanced genetics, holography, all put together. That's the top of the top. And apparently the Palladians are very unhappy because the secret space programs of Earth have been abusing that technology to regenerate super soldiers to literally take over whole planets and to mess with entire species. And they are not happy about this. So this is apparently going through the galactic court system. And they want to remove all of their advanced level technology from Earth until they say so. So from what I can tell, there's a lot of people bringing forth medbed technology, and it might be very advanced. I don't think it's secret space program Palladian level advanced, but it's pretty darn advanced compared to everything else we have. And I think that's great. But part of why we're driving the full disclosure movement is so that hopefully somehow through the galactic court system, perhaps we can reconcile with the Palladians so that they, of their own accord, can share their technology with us lawfully.
Yes.
Well, I've heard the Russians have got technology.
Said, Brian. Yeah. Sorry, Miles. Go ahead.
I've heard the Russians have got technology. They can see your whole DNA print. You might have a little genetic anomaly with, for instance, an eye, and they can go in there, engineer that, and fix it. And I heard that from a Russian lady, but when she got cancer, it didn't help her, and she died pretty quickly from that. But I've also heard people saying med beds, but really it's just an advanced magnetic, resonance thing. It's a big machine, and it's not a time reverse or anything else like that. And if they do have it,
Tompkins was talking about med beds and using. They have these. What's his name? Tompkins. What was his first name? Miles. Something.
Brian
Tompkins.
Thompson. Oh, William Tompkins.
William Tompkins, where he was talking about taking a certain amount of pills and it will age regress you and also heal certain genetic anomalies in the body that are getting
but that's SSP. That's secret space program level stuff, though.
Yeah,
that's not. None of that's making it down here.
The secret space program matter. It is pretty well insulated from the general population for various reasons, and I don't see that veil falling anytime soon. It would shock the mainstream, the regular human beings living a 3D existence. It would cause more damage than good. Even if it heals everyone, it's just going to collapse many social structures. So for now, let's just agree together that we'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah,
and so we're stuck with these wonderful vessels that are not the full potential of humanity, but there are certain things that are known. They are guaranteed to help health. First of all is mood, your stress. It messes with everything. So reduction of stress. Second is nutrition. So here in the UK, for a while, I was working with some interesting data. And so you have neighborhoods in London where they are in different pay grades. So from one block to the next, there's a 15-year difference in average life expectancy. That's down to nutrition. So nutrition, and then if there's a built-in, let's say, comprehensive repair mechanism built into the human body, and this is activated through fasting. Yeah. So if you are healthy enough to fast 1 week per year, it will guarantee an extension of your lifespan by at least 10 years, up to 30 years. So you see many of the, I'm not going to focus on any singular faith or religion. Let's say the priests of the world who do actually fast. It is not uncommon for them to easily pass 100 with full functionality. Now, I was born in Iran. I have seen this. When one of these old boys dies at 110, his 130-year-old buddies gather and say, oh, he was too young to go. This is truth. So
I've done 72 hours of fasting, and I'll tell you, my dream time is absolutely vivid, and I have a lot of memory of past lives. I get
switch off the digestive system. It switches off within the first 48 hours, and then the body starts eating up all damaged cells. You're not going to lose weight after a month you come back on food. It's not a diet mechanism. It is a healing mechanism. And so also it has the added benefit. You don't only purge and purify physical toxins. It does the same for spiritual toxins. So your intuition, your spiritual gifts are on fire. So
Yes.
let us stick with what we know, following the scientific method. Is it repeatable? Oh yeah, throughout history, people have done it. I've tested it. Guess what? You test it, it's going to work. Repeatable, valid, reliable. So scientific method, let's not go to speculation. These are things that will absolutely improve our well-being, and that's good enough. For now, we're stuck with an average life expectancy of, let's say, 70, or maybe in Japan to 90, whatever. It's important that we have quality of life. It's not just how long you live. If you're in a bed being pumped by tubes, that's no good either. So as long as we are here, we are vital and healthy, and when the time comes to go, that is quick. That's the best we can manage for now.
Thank you. You said, so you're suggesting do it for 10 days? Is that what you said, Dr. Amir? Fast for 10 days? Is that what you said, for a week?
I did this for 31 days.
Wow.
Just having water with Himalayan salt, because otherwise the kidneys are going to shut down. So you have to get minerals. Towards the end, I felt lighter, like I was floating. And most of the activation of spiritual gifts that came for me came from that period. They never switched off. But apparently a week, a year is you're in the Goldilocks zone. 1 week per year, 52 weeks, 1 week you fast. Because we're now publishing this for an open audience, please, if you have something like diabetes or major health problems, don't do this. So if the conditions are right, then it is highly recommended.
I did 72, and I'm sure I could. I'm confident I could do a week. I definitely. But I haven't done it in years because everything was so vivid in my mind of a past life that I don't know if I have a resistance to it. I don't want to see, or I get frustrated because the information that I do know that I've shared, people are refusing to, well, even listen. And it's like, what's the, so I don't know. I mean, yeah.
We have a question from the audience here. Our friend James Whitkiss is asking, what about vortex energy? Won't that keep you younger, especially if you have the DNA that you don't get vortex sickness? So I don't know anything about really much about vortex energy. I know Dan Winter, for example, speaks a lot about that, and implosion technology, and Isha Arzli with Sean Bond also speaks to this. I do know, though, from Audrey Walters, the term vortex sickness apparently applies to people who go through portals and stargates, and that can make you either vortex level sick 1, 2, or 3. And apparently it's tied to it's like a defense mechanism of the stargates themselves. Even if you're under SSP and your mind control, and you're vibrating at a lower vibration because you're under mind control, and they're sending you through a portal to go raid a civilization on the other side, part of the protection mechanisms is that Stargate can make you sick. Void sickness 1, okay, you're bad, minor issues. 2 is more bad. 3 apparently can be fatal. And apparently, and here's a BBC reference, with Time Lords, they're real. That's a real thing. There's a group called Time Corporation. You've got Time Guardians, and apparently people who are considered Time Lords have a certain type of DNA where it vibrates high enough that you don't get time sickness. So Time Lords are those people or beings who can travel through all these gates back and forth in time, and they're not affected negatively. That's part of what makes them a Time Lord.
Thank you for that, Brian. Okay, guys, it's 4:13. I don't mean to cut us off, but we've been going 2 hours. Is there anything
let me just answer this one question.
Yes,
from
absolutely.
Our wonderful audience.
Please.
There is a distortion in our mainstream belief system, which emphasizes having and no emphasis on being. Portal technology is the sole property of the vast majority of humanity. All you need is to sit under a tree and start beating on a drum. Okay, so these technologies are attempts at replication of what we have as infinite souls. So all the benefits of, let's say, said technology is built within you. And so proper meditative practice will give you access to this with none of the side effects. You may discover that you are a potent and efficient healer. Please first heal yourself. Please first heal yourself. And if it works, heal others. And this is the way to go. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amir.
Dr. Amir, it doesn't matter which tree. I mean, cedar trees are different. Certain types of tree energies collected or goes down or what?
Whatever floats your boat. Yes, I've got a whole collection of different rattles I use in my practice with different energies. Some are more well known, but it is like a personal friendship. The tree, because it is so massive in terms of biomass, some of these are hundreds of times greater than the mass of our body. So for energy work, they facilitate, they pull so much through you. They strengthen the meridians and all the important nodes for storage and distribution of vital life force. So in short, it's a personal thing. Who we get to vibe with, that's very much so personal. But trees are wonderful allies.
Miles, do you have any favorite trees in your vicinity, perhaps? I mean, I think all of us have trees that kind of call to us. I like the trees I can climb. That's kind of me.
Well, my father we had a forest, we had a large plantation, and then we had a big turkey oak. And every year we'd bring the local school down to get these Christmas trees. But he had a lot of fir trees, and we all brought them all round. It was a little bit dressed up. But he did a thing called widdershins around the tree. I think it was anti-clockwise. I'm not sure. And then we'd all hold our hands around this huge big oak tree with that big heavy bark. And it's wonderful. Those old trees are really wonderful. I miss all that.
Okay, so guys, you know I love being on here with all of you. If you guys have anything final, please do share where people can contact you, because I'm going to have to fix this for somehow I posted the right video for us, the event page, and somehow I must have hit the wrong thing rushing to get it open for everybody. So I will do my best to correct that. Please forgive me, guys. Sometimes, yeah, I get a little ahead of myself.
I think Hal would say that was human error.
It was human error. I own it, Miles. It's okay. I make mistakes sometimes.
My last message would be: get this book and learn how to make a telescope and see your own SSP stuff.
Okay.
FASP by John Walson, a personal friend of Miles Johnston. John Walson, WALSON, Miles.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And this is the final edition.
Guys, the early bird tickets are going to end December 31st, 2024. Come January 1st, we are raising the price.
Slight price hike. Well, not too much, but it is slight. So, and we also have early bird couples tickets too. So that's an additional discount.
Yes, and it's a great
full
discount.
disclosure movement.org, all one word, same website as last year. And we're going to be again at the Serrata Beach Resort, July 15th to 18th. And again, we're partnering up with Day of Being. This is now their 5th year. It's a free beach weekend. So if you can stay for the 19th and the 20th, please do so. Make sure to call directly to the Serrata Beach Resort to let them know you're staying as part of our conference, and they'll apply the conference discount. And I'm going to speak with them to try to get the 19th and 20th for the Day of Being also discounted, so people can just all party together at the same resort and enjoy the free beach party after our wonderful
That would be fantastic, Brian. Yes.
I think this is a whole new experience for the average UK UFO conference, because it's always raining.
Well, Miles will be coming back to us.
You loved it. You loved the beach, Miles. Didn't see you there. We got to see Miles Johnston in his swimming trunks. So you get to see it once again. Hopefully we got Dr. Amir.
My God, Terry Cassidy was so embarrassed. No, she wasn't, but anyway.
Okay. So
anyway, welcome, a happy Christmas and all that we have here.
And have a fantastic holiday, everybody. I will be in touch, guys, with the date for January, for our January show. and we're going to be talking about, what is this called again? I'm sorry, Dr. Amir. What's it called?
You're muted. He's muted.
You're still muted, Dr. Amir.
My apologies. It's called
No,
the
it's okay.
Vajra or the
Vajra?
Dorje. And
Yes.
then this one, this is called the Purva, tantric instruments of power. And they work for all humankind.
And to balance the yin and yang, right, within us, so that we're in a neutral space, a balanced space.
Much more juicy stuff. Very, very yum juicy stuff. Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing a show on that, and I'm definitely going to do my due diligence to pull up more information on this stuff. But I'm excited to. And Miles,
Send me an email where I get it in England.
Okay. Well,
do I order it on Amazon?
Dr. Amir,
Etsy.
no. Well,
Etsy is the best place.
Well, I have the guy that I bought mine from, but that's here in the United States. I don't know about the UK.
Well, I need to find the place. I need to see it. I need to
I'm going to see if I can find something and get it sent to you, or I'll ask Dr. Amir to help me with that. But Etsy, yes, or this guy, we'll get you one.
Is this anything like the wands of Horus? You know, a rod of some kind of energy. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I had an intelligent question there.
Miles, wait till you get. I'm telling you, this is powerful. Or at least these particular ones that I have.
Oh, the bells! The bells.
Yeah. So
the only time we hear that is when the pub
we have that show in January. We'll be doing this monthly, having our monthly "What the heck is going on in this world" show, and discussing different topics that arise or that are, you know, most popular, and do our best to answer any questions or share information that may bring clarity to the listeners. That's our goal, is to share our own experiences and perspective. And I definitely don't, say what I have to say is the absolute, right? We're all trying to figure things out. But we do have people like Dr. Amir, somebody like Miles Johnston, that's been in the business for over 30 years doing his work, and Dr. Amir, his gifts. And then Brian is definitely risen to the occasion. And I feel like I have a seat at the table now, and I'm happy to be here with you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Everyone, share this out. Please subscribe. Dr. Amir, where can people find you?
Thank you, guys. All this is going to be a learning experience, so we better get my things. You know.
Yeah, we're going to get it for you, Miles. Don't worry about it. Dr. Amir, where can people find you, please?
wizardofwivenhoe.co.uk. And for the final words, blessings to all of you. I wish you the absolute very best. Thank you so much for your gracious time and the opportunity to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Amir. Brian, where can people find you?
Yeah, fulldisclosuremovement.org for the conference mainly. And then I am a co-host with Arkeem Ra, who's an esteemed member of our audience right now. The Disclosure Now podcast they found on YouTube. And I'm also on Awake Nation and Agent X11 with David Zublik and Penny L.A. Shepherd. And someone just in the audience real quick, they asked about the bell. It's a bell, but I forget, there's a specific frequency or tone. Maybe Dr. Amir knows that it's kind of complementary perhaps with the Vajra. But it's like a specific frequency that's a healing frequency.
Super
as well.
powerful.
Like a Arpeggio.
Frequency and the metallurgy is important, but more precisely, it is coming down with your spirit from primordial void into primordial sound and kickstarting the process of manifestation. So you set intention in place, and then through sound, you give the initial vibrations that then will be amplified into a consolidated form of manifestation.
Thank you for that, Dr. Amir. Miles, where can people find you, please?
Well, on basistv.com for all the entire catalog of the videos over 30 years, including the Amash Project stuff. We had some people asking about that. I'm on YouTube as the Basis Project Censored and Basis Restricted on YouTube, and also sort of a learning channel called Stepping Stones to Awareness. And I'm Miles Johnston on Facebook.
Yeah, very good. Thank you guys. Thank you all. And I'll be in touch with the new date for January. Thank you for coming on. And this was a fantastic show. Once again, we really, yeah, I love it. I love it. We'll just keep going with it. I'll see you guys next month. Everybody have a fantastic holiday. If you celebrate Christmas or whatever, every day is Christmas to me. But, you know, I love the holidays. I like to be in the spirit of joy and our Christ at heart. And I think we exemplified that, every one of us today. So that's fantastic.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Miles. Bye, Brian. Bye, Dr. Amir. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right.